And we're joined now in the Business Breakfast studio by a man who's been roaming around the Middle East on a bus looking for entrepreneurs with good internet ideas. Omar Christidis is the founder of Arabnet. Omar, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
What have you been doing?
Well, I run Arabnet, which is the biggest conference for the web sector in the region, web and mobile, content, services, and applications. It's a 4-day event that takes place in Beirut in March. And the first day is a day focused on engineers. We train them about cutting-edge issues in technology. Then we have a 2-day forum, which is the leading forum for executives to build new relationships and for entrepreneurs to launch their new ideas and startups. And the last day is a community day where we bring in the public and we provide them training on things that are happening in technology, and we introduce them to the concept of jobs in this sector. We want to encourage people to take jobs in the technology sector. Since our first event, which took place in March 2010, we realized that a lot of the entrepreneurs who were excited about this sector couldn't come out to Beirut to the event. So we hopped on a bus and we went out to them in their communities. We traveled to 7 different countries where we held free workshops to train and inspire entrepreneurs to start their own businesses. So we actually started in Beirut. We went down to Damascus, Amman, Jeddah, and Riyadh, Doha, Dubai, and then hopped a quick flight to Cairo, where we held actually our biggest workshop for 500 people there.
Why a bus?
A bus, actually because we wanted to experience the diversity of the region. We wanted to watch it all pass by, and we wanted to actually have a journey. It was like a road trip, really. Actually, we were on the border in Saudi, and the border guard was wondering what we were doing. You know, what are you guys doing? And then we told him, we're traveling around in a bus trying to connect with local communities and everywhere we went to. And he said, it's like Star Academy. So he said, almost.
Exactly like Star Academy. So what kind of response did you get? What kind of numbers did you see coming out who wanted to be a part of this?
We had, across the board, we had about 1,500 people who participated in all of our events. So I would say actually the biggest turnout were in Egypt and Damascus. Damascus was an amazing show because people were so excited about it. I think that not a lot of activities like this happen in Damascus. And so in a lot of places, people were excited because there's not a lot of opportunities for tech entrepreneurs to get free training, to get connections to investors, to business professionals who are there as speakers.
Now, you had the first Arabnet last year in Beirut. The second one is this year, as you said, in March the 22nd to the 26th. Who's going to attend this?
There'll be more than 1,000 people attending the event this year. The event is attended by global companies working in the web space like Google, Microsoft, Cisco, companies that are interested in expanding their presence in the region. It's attended by the major regional players like 2454 and National Net Ventures in Saudi Arabia, who want to build new business relationships and promote their brands in the sector. And it's also attended by entrepreneurs from all around the region. We focus on fostering the ecosystem of entrepreneurship, which basically means we bring the entrepreneurs, but we also bring all the people who help them grow. Investors who can help them by giving them the funding they need. NGOs who can help mentor them and advise them. Media who can help spread the word about their company to the general public. So this is we believe that there's a lot of synergies that can happen when you bring all the people working in the same sector together.
Well, let's talk about one angle of that, really, which I guess is the finance, which is probably most important for startups and for entrepreneurs. They need to get money. The banks aren't lending at the moment. So who is going to attend Arabnet in Beirut that could help them? And how many venture capitalists, for instance, will be attending?
There'll be a ton of venture capitalists.
How many?
Actually, we can say that the venture capital industry is relatively small but growing quickly. And almost everyone who's a venture capitalist in this region will be there. Intel Capital, Ivy Holdings, Malaz Capital, based out of Saudi Arabia, N2V, which is an investment company also based in Saudi Arabia, Abraj Capital, Middle East Venture Partners based in Beirut. There'll also be a number of angel investors like Fadi Ghandour. So there'll be a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs to get the funding that they need.
Are people in this region actually getting that funding as well? I mean, for instance, how many startups found finance at last year's event?
I know at least one startup that did raise an angel round of financing last year, and another startup that's still in negotiations. There are only 10 startups that are allowed to pitch each year. There are 10 ideas and 10 startups that are pitched each year at the event. However, not all the startups come there looking for investment, and that's not the only thing that you can get there. One of the important things that you get is a lot of exposure. So last year, CNN actually covered the event, and so did Al Jazeera, and they did interviews with the top entrepreneurs who won at the event. And so these guys got a lot of traction for their startup at the event.
Now, you're actually bringing people who otherwise wouldn't be able to make it out to the event on their own. You're going to help them, to fund them, to get them into the room. How are you doing that?
Well, we have the support of a lot of great partners. So we have strategic partners in our activities, and those are Google, Aramex, N2V, Bank Audi, 2454, and MBC Group. But we're also working with different partners who can help send entrepreneurs, like the MIT Business Plan competition is sending 30 entrepreneurs. National Net Ventures is sending 10 entrepreneurs. Different organizations are sending entrepreneurs from their countries to the event.
So there's more than one way that people can get scholarship or corporate backing to get to you guys for free?
Definitely. Lots of opportunities for them, and they can contact us or they can work through. We're working with institutions in each country who are promoting entrepreneurship to sponsor entrepreneurs to come to the event.
We're going to continue speaking to you, Omar, in just a moment about the kind of ideas you've seen. But before we do hand over to the news team, for anyone who's listening to this and is hoping for a bit of help to get involved, where can they find out about the scholarships all in one place?
They should check out our website, www.arabnet.me, and they can find all the information on the conference, including information on the scholarships on the site.
And is there still scholarship places? Is there still ability for people to get financing and help?
Definitely still the ability for people to get financing and help.
And here on the Business Breakfast, we are speaking to Omar Christidis, who is the founder of Arabnet. That is a big event that's going to be taking place next month. And we've been finding out how would-be internet entrepreneurs and business people in this part of the world can get involved. Omar, tell us, where is the talent in this part of the world? You've been roaming around the Middle East on a bus looking for people with good online ideas. Are there pools of talent? Do some countries in the region foster more talent, more entrepreneurship than others?
Sure. I wouldn't say that they foster more entrepreneurship or talent than others, but I think that there are strengths in different countries. So, for example, Egypt is emerging as an engineering hub of the region. There's a lot of very highly technically skilled people there. Lebanon is emerging as a creative hub where you can get a lot of great design and animation work. Jordan has a strong and vibrant entrepreneurial culture. So they're churning out a lot of ideas and putting them into a product shape and putting them out and testing them in the market. And of course, Dubai has a lot of where is the media hub. So there's a lot of the media dollars are coming out of here. So those are kind of the major areas I see things happening. And of course, Saudi Arabia is where a lot of the Arabic language content and services are coming out of. So this is really important.
So what is the biggest threat to the industry in this part of the world? Is it the censored internet? Is it the slow internet? Is it lack of funding?
No. The biggest threat?
Well, I mean, the internet here is not particularly fast. And, compared to Europe and the States. So, it must be difficult for people to do things with fast applications online.
No, I don't think so. I think that the internet speed is increasing. I think that the biggest hurdles are a couple of things. One, there's a strong payment, a strong payment challenge. So there's not an easy way for people to make small payments online, and that's hindering e-commerce in the region. The other thing is that we're still seeing a very low proportion of budget of ad spend that is going to digital. And that is the primary source of revenue for a lot of companies. So we're talking about in the United States, we have about 12% of ad spend is on digital. In the UK, over 20% actually exceeded ad spend on TV. But in the region, we're still talking in the range of around 2 or 3%. So we really need to increase the amount of money that's going towards digital to really help these startups.
Why do you think that is? Is that a sort of dinosaur mindset in the advertising agencies? Is it reluctance by the advertisers themselves?
Well, there's a lot of issues here, and a lot of people are trying to unpack them. And of course, a lot of these people are my clients. But at the same time, what I can tell you is that there are incentive structures that are a problem. There's a lot of money that gets made on production, and digital production is cheaper. So that's one of the issues. There's definitely There's not the same fluency with the language of digital as there is with the traditional media, so that prevents people from really moving in it full force. But a lot of young people in these organizations are pushing for it, and I think actually the clients are pushing for it more and more, especially when it comes to social media these days.
Why don't we have more Arabic language content online? I mean, the old statistic that less than 1% or less than 2% of all the content on the internet is in Arabic gets rolled out a lot. What do we have to do to change that?
Well, one of the issues actually is that even when you'll see startups that are coming out of the region, if they're aiming for a global audience, they'll produce their content in English. So like a lot of the startups coming out of Jordan will be in English, or out of Lebanon will be in English. So doing it in Arabic is a kind of a limiting factor. But I think we will see more and more of these startups coming out in Arabic because of the numbers that you said. So because the opportunity is very large, and we will see it coming out of often Egypt and Saudi Arabia, where there's the largest critical mass of Arabic users. Now, I was looking up some numbers actually this morning before this interview, and there was a number that was saying 20% of MENA's users are using the internet in English. So that really means that 80% of the users are looking for content in Arabic. How
much of a difference is the Arabic script-specific domain names? The fact that you can now have, the .ae, I think the .bh, in the actual Arabic script rather than the Latin script in your domain address. How much of a difference is that going to make, do you think?
I don't really think it's going to make that big of a difference, to be honest. I think that most people they're at least typing in English, their keyboards are in English, they can, this level of fluency they've got. I see that the tablet has more of an influence on this than Arabic domain names. My grandmother is using the internet for the first time because she now has an iPad, and an iPad, she's, using it with great fluency. It's very easy to use. And so, I think that this is going to bring a lot of people online.
Well, I have to say, you're very young, and your grandmother's probably younger than me, actually, so that might put it into perspective.
Not at all.
Tell me, at your Arabnet next month in Beirut, how many of the startups are simply Arabic language adaptations of international sites?
I would say not Arabic language adaptations.
Well, lookalikes.
I would say that they are they're being made culturally relevant. So people are taking ideas that have been successful and implementing them in a way that works for the society that we live in. I do think that it's important, though, that there's an experience gap in the region. We haven't been doing this for a long time. The industry is still very small. There's not a lot of people with 3 to 5 years of experience. We need to do a lot of work, regardless of whether it's similar companies or whether it's new companies, so that we have the experience to create a lot of cutting edge work.
Now, I can see the attraction for people investing into the online and digital business, because we've seen recently some amazing valuations of Twitter, Facebook, even Spotify coming up with a big valuation of up to $1 billion as well. And we saw the Huffington Post sold for $315 million. So there is good money to be made out of this. How many of the companies that you had at last year's Arabnet receive finance and are actually making money from it?
Well, received finance and are making money are different, right? So a lot of companies...
No, I'm not. We talked about the finance, receiving finance already, but I want to know exactly who's making a profit.
Well, the turnover rate for the duration for companies to make money in this industry is much longer than a year. So I wouldn't expect them to be making money this year. I can, however, tell you that there is at least one company that is making money. The reason why is that, so they were actually, their company called Fumi. They're based in Beirut. They do mobile applications. They initially started with a B2C mobile app, so they were going to go to the public with this mobile app. And then they were at Arabnet. They got so much attention from a lot of the companies that were interested in, oh, will you build an app for me? Will you build an app for me? That they shifted their strategic focus based on the feedback that they received. And they started basically a mobile app development house. And since then, they're both cash flow positive and growing very quickly. So they've hired, they were a team of 2 really starting up this company, and they're now got more than 5 people working full-time on developing apps. It's a great success story for us, and for me, I get as someone who knows a lot of people in this industry, because we have this platform, we get a lot of requests for relationships, and of course I try to pass as many of those on to Fumi guys. They're great.
What kind of businesses are the most likely to make money or to make money first? Is it the online, the social sites that Malcolm mentioned that are getting so much attention at the moment? Is it the more commercial guys who are aiming at businesses rather than individuals to make revenue? Where are the biggest sort of, I guess, cash opportunities?
Great. I think that enterprise is definitely a big cash opportunity. I think that you're going to get much more likely to get money out of a company than you are out of an individual, especially in this region. And I also would personally stay away from content, even though, as we discussed earlier, there's a huge potential. But the amount of traction that you need to get to really generate money on content, you have to have a lot of eyeballs to start generating serious enough money to fund your operations. I think that it's much more interesting to go with a transactional model where people are paying for each service or some kind of subscription model. And it also helps you start generating revenues almost immediately. So this is something that we need in this region to start showing that we can make money. Investors are still pretty hesitant to be putting up their money and saying, "Oh, I'll wait for 5 years to see any of my money back." But this again encounters the problem that we're seeing before, which is payments. There's a significant problem with payment gateways in the region that's preventing a lot of people doing transactional startups.
People we have on the show usually blame fear by the consumer for that. They say, people don't want to give their credit card details over the internet in this part of the world. They're afraid. They're worried they're going to be ripped off. Is that not the problem? Is the problem that, as you say, the smaller transactions aren't feasible for credit cards, that they need their own different type of payment solution, rather than people are frightened of praying over the internet?
I think it's both. Actually, for the first time ever, my bank, when I moved back to Lebanon about 2 years ago, and I'd been shopping in the United States with my credit card all the time. And the first time I tried to make a purchase online when I was back in Lebanon, my card didn't go through. I called my bank and I asked why. They said, "Your card is not internet enabled." I said, "What does that mean? My card I need to call you to enable my card to work on the internet?" So yes, there is fear, but there's also some structural impediments. And definitely micropayments is one of those areas. And I think that as we see mobile payments coming in, that's going to solve a lot of those has the potential to solve many of those micropayment problems.
Omar Christidis, who is the founder of Arabnet, which will take place next month. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.